Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Very cool.
It took a while though, but yeah, it works.
Good.
So how are you feeling?
Oh, I'm getting there. We'll see how long I'm on.
that I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing when you said that.
Yeah,
I'm getting there.
Exactly. Just.
Yep. It's one of these things. We just have to do it. I'm up for it in a couple of years. So again, yeah.
Try and call one late. I think Will's should be on time.
Yeah. Darling is here for the comedy. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, so far so good. I mean, we'll see how bad
comedic this will be. We want to see that big jug now. Yep.
All it is I got
beyond
like a
the
bunch
wall
of these
of
zeros.
Oh, okay.
I split it up and
well,
boom,
not about
zeros, and I'm drinking out of those.
Hello.
Hi. Hey, how's it going? So, wow, you're such a bad way we can't even have video of you?
No, yeah.
The reality.
Oh, it's coming. It's coming.
Oh, good. Everything all right?
Chaos invites freedom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Evil consumes all.
Oh, I like that video. What is it?
Good.
It's Chuck. It's
for
the Kickstarter.
And those in the middle.
Oh, which
ones?
ones?
Are worse.
Oh, the
angels,
the angels and the demons.
The Codex Infernum and the Codex Exalted.
Yep.
Two source books that bring in.
So how are you, Anna?
About beings
Good.
all
Yeah.
positions. From the farthest reaches of the
Get computer up and running again, so I can't complain.
Oh yeah, I remember reading that.
Yeah, it was.
What a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it took a couple of weeks to get it running, and I felt I just got back in here and got started again after being away for 5 weeks, and then I got a couple of weeks. But now it's been 2 days, and it's been working flawlessly. So,
I'm knocking on wood for you.
and
Yeah, I just had
celestials,
to switch out
unleashing the
some parts
powers
and
of
stuff.
good
So
and
yeah.
evil.
But you didn't lose any
Chaos
data, right?
on your
No, I
table.
have
The
thankfully
codices
my backup
infernum and
machine really
exaltum,
worked. So
bringing
yeah.
creatures hallowed
That's
and
good.
profane
Yep,
into
I
your
have
adventures.
Dropbox
Pledge
and
and share
Backblaze
today.
and storing things away on hard drives. It was only 2 hard drives that were affected, and it was a C drive and the drive where I normally have all the stuff. But there were some things that were hidden away on the C drive that I didn't know of. So thankfully I could find them in Backblaze and get them, so to speak. So
I need to get another external hard drive.
yeah.
I have one now, and that's pretty much how I got my stuff.
Yeah, I usually get bigger ones to put in the computer, and then I use this. And there was a company here who had a data storage, and they had a lot of 2 terabyte drives. So they basically sold out a bunch of them for peanuts. So we bought like 20 of them or something like
Nice.
that. So,
Oh,
yeah, so for like $10 each or so, it was
wow,
not
that's
much.
a deal.
Yeah, it was like because they had like 2, 3, 500, several hundred of them, hundreds, and they're going to change the racks or whatever it was, and through contacts, so we just bought a whole bunch of them, and I'm using them, and then I have a fireproof safe, so that's long-term storage. So I put away the final stuff. I still have on my machine the final version, but a lot of the iterations in between, stuff like that might be useful, source material and stuff that I use for project, I put that on these drives and put them in a fire safe. And then I store and I have Backblaze to back up everything on the machine, and then I have Dropbox for things that I'm working on at the moment, so to speak, to spread it between the machines and have it that way. So that seems to have worked because I have a copy of that. So Backblaze is kind of, I'm surprised it worked that well. It's not as fast to sync as Dropbox, but you get the whole machine. So
Well, that's pretty impressive because that's the problem with Dropbox.
Yeah, exactly. I have a 4 terabyte Dropbox, and it covers what I'm working on, so to speak. So yeah.
Gotcha. What's that, Jeff?
Oh, I'm talking to the
What happened?
yeah, cleansing edition. Yep.
Oh yeah, I've been through that. That's fun.
Yes. I jumped early. I started early with it, so.
You got that on that what is that? That magnesium.
Whatever it is, they just have me. I did 3 Dogalax pills, and then an entire bottle of Miralax, which is 238 grams of that shit, put in 60 ounces of some kind of drink. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of drink did you choose?
I got like 4 Gatorade Zeros. Big bottles.
Aw, man, you should have got a big old milkshake.
No, I can't have dairy.
No, you can't have dairy. Yeah, it's only synthetic crap. They gave me like a gallon jug with some yuck at the bottom, and you fill water in and you drank that. I did it for like 5 years ago, or something like that. And yeah, it was terrible. I lost like 10 pounds, so it's a good weight loss.
That's probably what I should do. I'm still working on my. I've hit a bump. I've lost was it 12 out of my COVID 50. and it's like
yeah, I've lost
that's
some
my
of my
hill.
COVID.
I gotta keep going. I gotta find something to push me over. So
I've lost basically my COVID allowance, so to speak. It's mostly gone now.
No, this old man with low T ain't. It's just all on to me. It's like don't leave us.
Yep.
It's like
I'm here.
Yay! Awesome.
This is bottle 2.
Oh, there you are. Hey, what's that?
Bottle 2. Yes.
Okay.
It's all shaken up. I'll just reshake it a little bit here.
Yeah,
how many of those did you say you had to drink?
3. 60 plus ounces.
Yeah. We set the timer and see if it's more frequent bathroom visits.
Just to pee alone.
Then at 8 o'clock, I'm going to take another one of these.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So there. So everyone enjoy. So
I'm constantly. I get up at least twice a night to go to the bathroom as far as go pee.
Yeah,
I got old man bladder pretty bad.
This is not old
Keep
man
in
bladder.
mind, I quit. I used to think it was just because I drank a lot of coffee, but I've cut back on the coffee, and well, I still got to go pee. So it's like, whatever.
Well, if I get up and bolt out, you all know what's going on. All right, so
yeah.
I
hope
no
you have a
big
bathroom
deal.
next door, so it should.
Yeah, it's right across the hall, so no
good.
big deal for the most part. All right, so giveaway tonight. I think I started it already, didn't I? Yes. Will sent me some more nice updated Ravenswood hard copies, so we got that. All right, if you
Awesome.
win and you already have it, then we do a Troller Game $10 gift certificate. All right. Does that sound good, everyone? So exclamation point drawing. No, man, I gotta keep it going here because I don't have this week's a normal 3-day stream, but the week after I'm in freaking Texas right up to before Virtual GrowCon starts, so I didn't want to cancel any streams.
Oh man, why do you got to go to Texas?
Because I have to for work, man. I don't have a choice. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm not getting home to like 11:30, 12 o'clock that night, and GrowCon starts at like 7 o'clock the next morning. It's brutal.
Wow.
Yeah,
that is pretty brutal.
Typical BS.
Sleep on the plane, man, as much as you can.
Well, as long as it doesn't get delayed, that's what I'm worried about. But then
that's so common anymore. It's scary.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of BS. So enough of me bitching here. So tonight, I thought this was a good topic. It's wait a minute, I heard a sub sound. Plot hooks, quests, and magic items all kind of intertwined, right? Because you can take an item and then build a whole plot hook around it, a thing, an item, an idea. I figure it would be a good discussion point for Greyhawk. Anna, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, I think it's a great discussion for any role-playing game, because these are kind of things that you should, if you want to run games one way or the other, you need to start thinking about this. Otherwise, there will be kind of boring game sessions.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
100%.
Your players demand it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you, Nambu. Hey, David. What about you, Will? What are your thoughts?
Good plot hooks are indispensable.
Yep.
I really think so.
They are.
Yeah, and if you got a real good one, it could be the driver for the entire campaign.
Mm-hmm. And also realize that a lot of players, they're looking for hooks. So if you just mention something, they will turn it into a hook. So be ready to take things that you never thought would be a hook. And if the players, if you catch players on it already, then go with it, so to speak. So yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, and definitely go fishing out of if you've got players that make backstories or that's your kind of game. Go and mine that for plot hooks on stuff and see how you can weave it into your different things. Don't make them overcomplicated though. That's one of the things. It's like one of my favorite plot hooks is a guy.
Right.
And then you could that guy can be connected to any of the characters in a number of different ways. So which is really good. Jay's got this is something that Jay does, I'm sure, is if you have a lot of long-standing NPCs that are in your campaign that the characters like and dislike, instant plot hooks. Am I right, Jay?
Oh yeah, come on, Michael Baton. I used that for 2 years.
Yeah,
and then some other stuff too. But while I'm here, okay, because I want to share the plot hook I did last night and how I came up with it. How's that sound?
There you go.
Okay. So, and I knew, I let's put all the gotcha Stefan afterwards here. Yes, like Fritz. Fritz is another one. Yeah, we'll talk about hated NPCs. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of them. You're right, Alex. So last night, Tony Winslow Bro was our guest on the Slav Squad, and I had run this Xanthoria, which was the highest level adventure in Candlekeep Mysteries that she had written herself. So we did a whole campaign about how this plague, the Xanthoria plague, which is in this adventure, swept through the Sus, Altamira, Northern Selene. It was a real pain. A lot of people died in the high level adventure. So I said to myself, Zugdemoy is cool. How am I going to tie in this because this is, the plague's been over with Tony here and with the Slavs. So the plot hook I had was Josh is a druid. Josh's character, Carl Speckerleaves, is a druid. And I have Norwell and the Norwell Headhunters and the Gnarly. I have Dark Druids from Rob Kuntz's adventure worshipping Zugtmoy up there. So this is easy. I can take, and that name of the adventure, no one caught this. The name of the adventure was The Misbegotten. There's a whole misbegotten creature in the book here, right? So I was throwing out the pictures of them because they came across mutant animals, and so the whole tie-in was they got word about this. Something was going on out there. Carl had the group go out. You love a mushroom man, exactly. And they ended up having to fight a dark druid. And if any of you, of course, this is where my old school, really old stupidity. Instead of, everyone knows the legendary character from Caddyshack, Lacey Underall. I just turned her into Lacey Undergrowth. And that was the Dark Druid name. And threw in a couple other names there. And we had some fun last night. But just as a plot hook, and this purposely, this fits into what's going on in my campaign. It ties, the Dark Druids are probably, hey, we want to take over the world. Some of them worship Tharizdun. A lot of them worship demons as druids. So hey, let's expand. So that's how that plot hook went. All from who I had playing in my game, what characters I had, and resources that I used previously, like Will said. So just want to give that as an example of a plot hook for a one shot, because I have to do one shots because we only play every couple months, right? The last thing I want to do is have an adventure and have it sit there for 3 months, and no one can. My guys can't remember what we did last week. So how do I expect all them to remember 3 months what's happening? And notice I'm talking still, and I know you all want to see me run the hell out, right? Well, it may come shortly here. Wait a minute, did I have that? Oh, there you go. Okay, I wanted to make sure I went
bubble.
Bubble. You still think Rosie should have gotten a third-eyed pet fox? Yes. So the first one that came across was a little fox on the bridge, and then she walked up to it to feed it cheese. It had 3 eyes and 2 tails. So that was kind of funny. Hey, Slug, good to see you, man. Hope things are going well.
3 eyes and 2 tails.
Yes.
I like that sort of thing. I like having just weird. I think underplayed in most D&D are regular animals. Mm-hmm. I think regular animals should be beefed up.
Yes, I totally agree. I beefed up my several CRs because it's like bears and wolves and whatnot. They're like minuscule. Yeah. A common farmer can beat a bear almost in the rules, and that I don't like that.
Yeah, and that's exactly. It's like a bear should definitely be able to give you a run for your money. Yeah, I mean, a party, especially like a low-level party, you come across a big old grizzly. Yeah, that should be a big deal.
Yep.
So, yeah, we can call him Muty the Fox or something. Muty with the 3 eyes and the 2. Yeah.
Muty.
Yeah. That was a fun one last night. And once again, I want to say thank you to everyone who participated last night. But if you go, they click over up top on the monthly subs, and you go over to the stream chat on the gift, the cheers. There was a race last night between Patrick and Troy on whereas I had at one point 40 hero points as a DM. It was crazy.
Good Lord.
It was nuts. It was insane. But it was a fun time. So, and there's some pictures of Misbegotten there. So that's a plot hook of mine. Note, I feel within the next 5 minutes I'm going to be out the door for a little bit here. So,
I'm surprised you got the door closed, man. Yeah, I figured it'd be open so you could just turn and shoot.
Yeah. They brought their day games last night, and it was a real fun adventure for them. And also, we convinced Tony to go to GaryCon last night.
Oh, really? Rock on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So I got a spot for her in 2 drink minimum. So, well, that was a quick meeting.
Yep.
He said,
long time no talk,
the ever mysterious. You all right there, Tim? Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
There you go, man. That beard's getting big, man.
Yeah.
The ever mysterious Tim joins us.
Looks good.
Yes, so I'm about to step out here. Has anyone ever used sabotage of a ferry as a plot hook? Like someone stealing the ferry and setting it float down the river, prevent people from crossing the river? No, it's a good idea, though. But how many?
It's a good idea.
The outlaw Josie Wales did.
Yeah, exactly. What we have here is a Missouri boat ride. See? He shoots it. You're absolutely correct. He doesn't steal it, though. He just breaks the rope.
Right.
Yeah.
He breaks it free while they're on it.
Yeah, that was a good one. All right, so Tim, we're talking. We're just in our initial phase on plot hooks, quests, and magic items. How do you like to set up your plot hooks and quests? What do you do, like in an initial?
So many ways.
Yeah.
I like magic items that have either they want to get for a reason, or keep from somebody for a reason, or once they get it, somebody wants it for a reason.
Right.
Yeah.
You've been doing that a lot lately.
If they got a flashy one, I think if they're lower level and they got a flashy magic item and they're like powering it, using it a lot, it should be taken away by the next, their 5th level. The 10th level dude's going to be like, and take it.
Right. The extra high level individual on the low level one. All right.
Right. Then you have to govern your use of it a little bit more closely.
Won't be able to switch screens here for a second. So you're all plot hooks for you guys. I'll be back.
Have fun.
Okay.
Well, one that speaking of magic items, and I think I've brought this up before, one that I've used before, but it's been a long time since I've used it, and I'm thinking I should do it again because it's so much fun, is the cursed magic item. And essentially the campaign I had is the players are in town when there's a execution. So they're going to hang somebody. And guy gets hanged and a gold necklace drops off of him, laying on the ground. But nobody seems to notice it, except for, and I roll randomly to see which of the players happen to see it randomly. and then it's like, he's dead. They're taking the body away. People are, the donut salesmen are starting to leave. The crowd's starting to thin up. There's that necklace still sitting there. Nobody seems to notice it. So of course he goes and he gets it, and it's an intelligent necklace. It's uber powerful. It's like, oh, I was waiting for you to find me and so forth. And basically they get the necklace and they put it on, and then the necklace just starts telling them what to do and causes all kinds of trouble. And once you put it on, you can't, the only way to get rid of it is you have to be able to gift it to somebody else. You have to give it to them, and they have to willingly accept it from you, knowing what it'll do. So otherwise, knowing what it will do. Otherwise, you have to keep it. So it turns you into like a used car salesman but the necklace is like really powerful.
Could you get it off by like dying and going to -8 and then taking it off and then bringing you back?
Yes, that would work. That is a loophole. Or a wish. I allow a wish to get rid of it.
Is harder.
Yeah.
But
so
I like the idea of having magic items that are very powerful and give the wielder or the user a lot of powers, but they come with baggage, not a mechanical baggage, but you can have like for instance, I had an evil sword that was really, really good, so to speak, and he gave you tremendous power and he was intelligent and so on, but he will only give you all these powers if you went out and you have to kill a good creature, so to speak, good aligned creature, and then if the sword deemed that sacrifice worthy enough, so it basically turned you into evil, not change the alignment, it just teased you into it, so to speak. And also that meant, and you can also have items that gives you a lot of power, but it comes with a bag of everybody knows that thing, whatever the necklace or something is, like a cursed item, or it's a symbol of something, or it turns into whatever. So it comes with like a cultural baggage. Everybody around it hates it, or someone when they see that sword being wielded, it was the last tyrant who had it, and someone, and everybody hates it. Everybody sees it, knows that, oh, you're serving that side, so to speak. Or you can say that item, it was like an Ayusian priest who had that item, and everybody. So if you start using it, then you will be seen by everybody to have joined that side, so to speak. Stuff like that. So you don't have to curses. I don't like mechanical curses that much. I'm not like curses that are working from an in-game perspective, from a setting perspective, rather than a mechanical perspective. They are kind of more interesting. Or they could be an item that telepathically alerts the other side to come and kill you, or something like that. Or visually just, or oddly just screams out in whatever, like.
How does the Gith Yankee know? They just know, right? They just know.
Yeah. and that can be how intelligent items communicate with you. You will know, so to speak, or you will pass certain checks almost every time, and you will fail others. You fail to see things, but you sure see other things, so to speak, whether they are true or not.
I also like items that, I like scalable items, but I like chargeable items. So like, how your sword's all like, hey, you got to go out and kill this guy.
Exactly. That's the way of charging it. So
yeah. And it's like, well, that's great. You got to, now we're back down to only a +1. You got to go kill 15 more.
Exactly. You have to earn my trust, so to speak, or something.
That's awesome. I love that sort of thing, because it encouraged bad DM behavior here, but
that's one of my DM.
That's how I am. It encourages the players to behave badly.
I want my players to be murder hobo-y types, so to speak. That's
then I can
fun.
bring the hammer down on them.
You have to bring out that. But there's usually two, and this is the thing with plot hooks and quests. There's like two things. Either you get players to be angry and frustrated at something, or bored. Both of these. And the boredom is, in my opinion, underutilized, so to speak. So not always push them. Let them scheme and end up in trouble without you having to tell them, so to speak.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and also when it comes to, now I'm thinking plot hooks should be placed early and often, long before you even and they should be I usually, when I have the way I prep my campaigns is that I research an area and I create an area. I map it out. I place, these are this is the area. This is what it looks like in geography. These creatures live here, so to speak. And then they have certain motivations, desires, and this is how they will go about. And then I let the characters in there. And then I have a certain idea that I use henchman. He wants to conquer here, and he has a problem with someone who's disloyal there, who's thinking about joining someone else or stabbing him in the back or something like that. And then I let the players roll for these significant things, meaning which faction is gaining it up in hand or not, so they can sense that something is happening. Like he rolled really good, so now he's like doing something in the background, and you can see the ominous clouds or whatever, and that is how I kind of let the campaign auto generate a lot of these. So I have basic ideas, but which one will actually become quests or plot hooks is up to the dice and the whim of the campaign, so to speak.
Yeah, your NPC should have motivations and goals.
Yep.
Because that automatically, it triggers, they auto trigger. So, and then you don't have to think anything up. It's like, well, no, that happens now.
Yep. And you let the players go in and wreak havoc with stuff, so to speak.
Yeah, totally.
And then they will focus on something you never thought would happen, or they will be diehard and just murder the first NPC that you thought, this is going to be interesting, and 5 minutes later he's gone from the campaign. It's like, okay, now I need to rethink this, and that's so you have to let them, so to speak, let the characters. You can just invent more monsters, more NPCs, whatever. You just need to boost them a little bit. So if they die quickly, then rethink things a little bit. Yeah. But don't do it from a mechanical standpoint. Don't just boost them just because they need to be. Think of what the henchmen higher up would think, that, okay, now my 2 little bosses in that area have been both killed by these adventurers. Who do I send? What mission do I give? And so on, in order to treat these bastards that go around and cause mayhem in my backyard, so to speak. So try to solve it in game. Don't just boost the stat blocks and so on, because have them, the villains, send someone better to do it and punish the ones that failed.
You said someone better, not more powerful, because sometimes the never direct approach, it's the ones you don't see coming from the side that's much more interesting and better,
Yeah, and it can be someone more ruthless who are willing to kill not 10 peasants to get his will, but 100 to figure out what did, so to speak. And so yeah.
Yeah, villains themselves can be plot hooks.
Yeah.
If there's history amongst that with the players and what have you.
Yeah.
So Tim, do Rob Ledbetter.
My name's Rob Ledbetter. Emphasis on the better. I was trying to get the camera wasn't right. Yeah, he's holding his pectoral muscle when he said it.
He's talking about the better. Awesome. Yeah. Yes. No.
My name is Rob Ledbetter. Emphasis on the better.
Very cool. Before I blast out here.
Literally.
Yeah. So, Will, I don't know if you talked about it yet, but like you got, you're taking Rogues Gallery characters and you're taking their items, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
And if we go to Rogues Gallery, we come down here to Leciver in the Dark by Alan Hammock. This character here, tell us, Iker, tell us a little bit about this and how this is a good hook or that you could utilize.
Well, let's see. Let me go to that thing. The Leciver in the Dark. Okay, so this is the vampire sword.
Yep. There you go. Yep. And here it is. So I got him in Rogues Gallery. Here's yep. Here he is.
Yeah.
Yep.
And well, let's see. I don't know. Let me take a look at it right
You just did this one.
I know, but it's as far as a hook, I mean, it's a cool item. I mean,
right.
It gives you negative levels, so that into itself, but it's not intelligent or anything like that. But here would be the thing that if I were to use it as a plot hook, I would use it as someone were to come across it or find it, and Leciverin would want it back. I would have it be that Leciverin had lost it and then would come find it. And then that's something with a specific type of magical items. I don't think hardly anybody ever does. Like, for example, if something is found in a dragon's hoard and it belonged to say a paladin, a well-known paladin of a certain, we'll say the Church of St. Cuthbert, and it was liberated from said dragon's hoard at some point by adventurers, and then the church found out about it, I think the church would want it back.
It's like a sort of life stealing, really. It works every time instead of on 20.
A little bit. When I posted it up, there was a little bit of misunderstanding. There was like people were like comparing it to Black Razor and whatnot.
Yeah, no.
It's like, no, that's not Black Razor. So,
yeah, and it's written right here, and it's right in Rogues Gallery, and you've converted it out to a 5e conversion, right?
It's both.
Oh, it's both.
All these ones that I'm doing, I'm trying to do it in both. Because basically, essentially what it is, it's a +2 broadsword. But then for what happens is in OSR, you lose levels, right? Well, there is no losing levels in 5e. So what they do is I know they got rid of the mechanic.
Why are we even talking about it?
But that's so what the beauty of it is like most of the internet will have solutions like these for you, and one of their solution is what it does is it gives you a level of exhaustion. Now it doesn't sound the same, does it? But levels of exhaustion in 5e are like at first you're getting disadvantage on all of your skill checks. 2, you lose movement. 3, you get disadvantage on your attack rolls. If you get 6 of these, you die. 6 levels of exhaustion, you die. So it's sort of like when you're losing levels, how you're subtracting the bonuses to hit and things along these, and essentially every time you get whacked, you're gonna get some of these levels of exhaustion dropped on you. And the thing about levels of exhaustion in regular D&D, I'm not regular D, in 5e D&D, it's if you go to sleep, you only lose 1. So it's something that stays with you for a while, or you have to have that level of spell that restores per level of exhaustion. It's not like just 1 and boop, it's all gone. So it is a pretty serious mechanic in 5th edition, but it was the equivalency. But I'm trying to do that because the OSR stuff is there, right? So I can just take that and use it, especially when I'm doing these older ones. And then I try to give a 5th edition equivalent to it because, well, there should be a 5th edition equivalent to losing your levels. I mean, what else is the undead going to do?
I guess you could permanently take away a point of constitution permanently.
That too. See, there are creatures that there's nothing permanent in 5th, unfortunately. You have to homebrew it that way. But yeah. So, and yeah.
The ghost touches you and ages you 10 to 40 years.
They do still have the aging.
Specters and vampires drain you 2 levels. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. Losing years is
whites and race drain at 1 level. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also kisses from a lot of creatures. So I'll give you an equivalent here while I'm still sitting here of a weapon like this vampire sword. Where one of the TPKs occurred in my game. Tim, do you remember? Name a sword that wiped out the entire party. Because they took
a sword.
They took 2 swords, and they got wiped out after they took them.
I don't remember. Is one of them Makarash's though?
No, they took 2 Githyanki silver swords.
Oh yeah.
And they thought it would be cool to keep them all, and then they're at a party and they're
but the Githyanki don't like that.
Right, no. And the Githyanki came and killed everyone.
Did that involve Wayne?
What's that?
So here's
of course it did.
Here's a question: if the Githyanki show up and you go, "Oh, I'm sorry, we had no idea. Here, take them." Are they still going to kill you?
Considering they killed Githyanki for them in the first place, so yeah.
See, there's the problem.
Yeah. So
what if they just found them?
Yeah, what if they found?
It doesn't matter. Githyanki, you can't negotiate. There's certain individuals you don't negotiate with.
You don't negotiate with the Githyanki.
Actually, I got to tell you, I don't like Githyanki.
I see it. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why not? I was going to say, so a lot of these kind of monsters that want to rob you and so on, I can see the only reason they want to keep you alive is that if you might come back, it's likely that you will come by and have more treasure so they can steal again. That's the only reason that we keep you alive. If they think that you could come by or be a nuisance and you would never come back, they will simply take everything and kill you.
I got an instant plot hook. Okay, so you steal from the Githyanki, they come back and they cut off one of your hands and then they leave you. And then see, there you go. Now the party they want revenge for their lost.
Yeah, I think some monsters are probably so cruel that they would do something just to make you suffer, chaotic evil or something that they will simply do it just for the cruelty in itself, so to speak. They will let their victims suffer and basically just be the worst possible. But a lot of them will probably just do it. They're looking at it from more like how much they can prosper, and they want to have as few victims laying around that can come and revenge or have whatever. Yeah. So they just want to but the reason a lot of people keep robbers and various evil villains in the campaign will only rob you is that it's like they go by and rob the population or people that go and trade. They will simply just siphon off a little bit because it's more profitable for them long run to just take 10% or half the value, because so they can go back and get more stuff and come back with them later, so to speak. So so it goes all the way from these gentlemanly criminals or villains who only steal from the rich and so on and so forth, all the way to the worst bastards that will just in there for the suffering.
Highway gentlemen.
Yeah. And I think that's important when you make plot hooks and stuff. Villains should have a lot of different motivations for a lot of different reasons, and some of them should be almost trustworthy and have almost worthy goals, so to speak, and understandable goals. Others are just bonkers crazy or just doing it for various nefarious reasons that are as far from good as possible, so to speak.
Yeah. So people are asking questions. So just so you know, the Githyanki swords, they cut one of them. They cut the cord if you're out.
The cord for astral travelers who project.
One
to
of them
the
was a special
plane.
silver sword, which is permanent. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
So my issue with the Githyanki is if they're astral most of the time, they're thinking and cause of what they're doing is so far away from the prime material. The prime material won't even matter to them. You know what I mean? They're dealing with all the other astral entities and things, of which there are many, many.
Yeah.
And the prime material, gold. What gold means nothing in the astral. What does that mean? So they're alien. They're like their whole thought process would be entirely alien. So I would think they would come in and they would be doing things that don't make any sense to anyone in the prime material, because they're not considering anything that is normal to the prime material. So
that
doesn't mean they wouldn't kill you anyway if you were
but it's a great point. Yep.
Or they could be coming to the prime material for vacation.
Dude, there's all sorts of creatures like that, like aboliths and all sorts of things that.
Well, aboliths aren't. They're.
You know, so mind flayers even, right?
Well, aboliths are supposed to be crazy anyway, right? That's part of their bag.
They looked in the mirror and saw how ugly they were, and they went
pretty much.
Yeah, but I guess crazy depends on from what perspective, what motives you are.
Well, I thought aboliths were, because they've been around for so long and whatnot, that they've gotten a level of like insanity to them.
Think of them as the Lovecraftian villain of the old one down there in the deep,
right?
Yeah,
that's what I do.
Yeah.
Everybody smells like fish. I wonder why.
Yeah. I also see them as one of the oldest civilizations in that way. One of the first ones. They've been around long before there were others, so to speak. So they might have decayed and then flourished and decayed again several times before there were even humans or humanoids around. So
flourished based on the quality of the slaves they had.
Yeah, from their, I'm saying flourish from their perspective.
Quality of their toys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That might have led to a mass extinction once or twice before history.
Giving you guys a 5-minute notice before I dart out of here again. So
okay.
If there's anyone who needs to be cleansed more than you, Jay, I don't know.
I am trying.
Did you follow my advice? Did you follow my advice?
No, I did not do that. We're not.
You're going to pay for that later.
We're not going to discuss that. We're not going to.
Yeah, you're going to pay for that later. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, I pay
as
for
the
a
night
lot
wears
of stuff.
on.
So how many of your friends and players have been telling you? It's like, see, we've been telling you, you've been full of it for a long time.
Well, about 13 years ago, I did one, and it was a Thursday night. It was at the old house, and I'm like, no worries, man. And they're like, what are you freaking kidding me? There's no way we're going to play tonight. And they were correct that night, but this is a little different. Yeah, Curtis, I am dedicated. I am dedicated here.
Man of dedication.
Yes, I am definitely. And plus, we got a lot of great stuff going on. So, I have done a plot hook, and we know this in the Harby Michael Baton war with Judge Alita, just over revenge or hatred, right? It's always a good one where two people don't like each other to the point where one's got to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, done that a lot, and they're both NPCs. Well, one was an ex-player character because Mark's not playing anymore, but and they, so both NPCs at the time, and war spills out in a bit and troubles everyone when people are just doing things and burning down entire churches of Zilchus and sending ships on fire, and you're gonna spill over. So
that is one church you do not want to mess with.
The Zilchus ones.
Of course, they got deep pockets, man.
Yeah,
it's like if you want to talk about a church that'll just like, okay, well, let's go and buy the best retaliation our coin can give us.
You're reading my plot hooks in my campaign right now, because I introduced a Silchus priest from Karlstrand last game session, Ubika Dorman. So yeah,
awesome.
Although sometimes vengeance is not good business.
No, she's not in vengeance at all. She's a consultant.
Yeah,
that's good business.
I would look at it mostly just basically like if they were to do something against the Church of Zilchus, retaliation, they wouldn't even know that it was coming from them to start off with, and for 2, it would be basically just to zero out the books.
No, they will they will take you over and make sure you're more profitable and take the money.
That would be, I've got it. Okay, so here you go.
They would buy your patron and then
whatever.
There you go. Mm-hmm. That's it.
But
high level characters that have property and different things already. They mess with Zilchus and then they go in, they buy their keeps. They they take over all that, and they just like, So
Ubika Dorman, she's Karlstrand's emissary for diplomatic liaisons and stuff. Meaning she goes to other rulers and help them stay as rulers and pay for that, so to speak. So that's her job, is to maintain good relations and so on and so forth. So,
but what if the Church of Zilchus hates the one priest anyway? Even though he's a priest.
If she's profitable,
I'm not talking about her. I'm just talking about what in my world, what happens.
Then they get financial ruin.
You have members in a church. It's too big to say the church hates a person, because then they would just go ahead and have.
You hated him.
They're like a CEO who's not profitable. He becomes
they would
history.
They would basically send him to. We have a special mission. You need to go to the Amedio jungle.
That's like the fantasy equivalent of Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia or something like that. It's
the term is called managing them out.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
More examples.
They're always internal positions somewhere. We have a basement that needs someone to work in, and or something like that. So
right.
They count a lot of wealth that is not there.
It depends on the level, right? Because if it's a low level guy, you'd be like, "We've got this new assignment."
Yeah,
and then he's at a desk and he's pushing papers and double checking stuff and
high level is very important that they don't go over to the enemy, so to speak. So then you have to give them an offer they can't refuse in a sense, so to speak. So
yeah. But I definitely see like Zilchus would be connected to the banking institutions, all that type of stuff. Oh, you definitely.
It almost gets too close to like real life. So.
It does, but then in real life you can't just go in with fireball.
You can always use the term.
Well, I guess you could.
I think about it like the term, the fantasy version of late state capitalism. That there you have a lot of inspiration for the Celsius ones. Meaning,
I would suggest that every single temple is involved in money.
That's the way
money, power, and so on. So efficiency in that sense.
Influence, not necessarily raw power, but just influence. They want to influence the people to do the things that usually are good for the good ones. That that. And
there's some gods that the way I run them. That I'll find a plot hook here in a second. But basically, they won't even have temples depending on how the god is. One for me is like, I don't see why Farlangan would have a temple. It'd have a roadside shrine, where like you're going and you're traveling, and it's a place where people could go and spend the night. It's blessed by Farlangan priests and what have you. So like that's a place if you
like
it's a good
hostel.
thing you. Yeah, and it's a good thing that you stayed there, because that's where the ghouls that live out there in that particular area, they don't go in there because it's consecrated ground and they can't do it.
And I would say Silchus, they will set up a center of trade and commerce for merchants and stuff in your town.
Market,
and it will
the farmers market.
Exactly. It will be
yeah.
really good investment. You can't resist this one. And then they will set up a big temple, so to speak, temple in the or merchant center, so to speak.
They would work with the powers that be to limit what sort of markets are being done and what they sell at the market, so they have a monopoly on something, so that to sell you have to pay them the little market fee to set up
you have the
stall.
monopoly on selling things in and outside the city or the realm, meaning imports and exports will go through their organization, so to speak. And in return, they will make sure that you are the one running that realm. As long as you give them monopoly on trade in and out, or a large cut on it, so to speak, they make sure that you are the one running the realm. That's a pretty good bargain, especially since they're running a lot of the import and export from a lot of other realms.
If you're
like
looking
the
for
Hanseatic League in old Nordic Europe, for instance, worked on those terms. There's a lot of good examples in history that functions that way.
The Renaissance, Italian Renaissance city-states.
Exactly.
I'm researching that all right now.
And stability and efficiency and morals are out the question. We don't care who rules and how many you murdered in the background in your basement. We don't care about that part. We care about stability, efficiency, and profitability, and reliability.
That I find that totally underused villain in a fantasy campaign is the corporation. South, like the like you need to, East India Company versions of these guys that have their own armies and have their own fixers and
but you need to wrap it in a fantasy setting, so you can't call it incorporated or something like that. It's guild, trade associations, noble factions, clan business, all sorts of stuff like that. So
the dock workers guild,
exactly. You wrap it in these terms and so on, be the traditions and stuff. But you look at the mechanics from a ruthless capitalistic world, and then you start thinking of it, how would that function in a fantasy world? And then you create the officials and the consultants and the whether that is more kind of a upfront consultants that do it openly, or the ones that, if that doesn't work, who gets to do it the ugly way, so to speak, and so on.
That's I tend to have them as an organization that I can use for multiple purposes, because it's the company can either A, hire adventurers, B, be mad at adventurers for doing something they didn't want them to do. There's you can use them as good and bad guys.
Or you can use them they can hire them just to probe for information, meaning what is this ruler, how is he doing certain things today? What's his opinion about certain things? Is he in league with our enemies over there? That, or so on and so forth. Who is frequent his court, so to speak? Who is whispering into that ruler's ear? They want to know that stuff, and they're willing to pay for it. And they might want to hire adventurers to just go there and find that out.
I was going to say,
or they could be competitors to the adventurers.
Yes,
like competitive adventuring parties. It's
and the king might realize that, there are spies for that, and they hire some adventurers to figure out who the heck in my court or among my vassals, meaning the barons or the earls or whatever, are actually having deals with them, so to speak, and figure that out.
Sir Jack of Cups mentioned the city-state of the Overlord, which I run in the city-state of the Invincible Overlord game, and it is a very well-run city, but it is definitely not a good city.
Here's a
well-run
question.
Meaning there's order, but the major tax stream is slavery. Is the major tax stream. So that's
I didn't know that.
A lot of
that's the number one. I mean, there's a tax office there on the slave plaza, and that's what the slave masters who sell people. That's the number one revenue stream. Some of the streets, if you're walking up the street, there's a chance you get mugged and sold. So it's
and this is where I think you as a DM, you need to start thinking, first of all, how dark do I dare to go, so to speak? If I want to run a politically themed campaign,
wait a minute, before Jay gets back.
Yeah.
So the long-term campaign will be eventually they will have to replace the Overlord with his half brother. And all right, that's it.
Realize he will see the YouTube afterwards.
I know he's not going to watch the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Just go ahead. Just email it to me.
Yeah.
So
he has no clue. It would terrify him to know that, to hear that. Jay, you'd be terrified if you heard what I just said.
Would it have to be feet whipping off something?
No, sure. That's small potatoes.
Yeah,
that's small potatoes.
So BB Fan Fun said something that got me thinking. It said, "Hobos just move on to the next adventure." So here you go. How do you plot hook the murder hobo parties? Because they're out there. I think we've all played with them, right? And so it's, if you don't have the type of party that leans into the quest, what do you do with those?
The revenge posse,
right? Well, that's where that whole necklace campaign thing that I talked about. Well, that's the party that gets that, or the ones that can handle it, because they're they're murder hobos. So
the posse of all the family, the people they killed, they get warrants for.
Oh yeah, that's so.
And
good.
They get bounty hunters that are hired by the government to find them.
Yeah,
they get family members who are vengeful.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, you killed the tinker. That little tinker was the favorite little friend of my great aunt who lives in the castle up on the hill. She used to talk about all the old times. So now, oh shit, I just killed the stupid little tinker. And now, the powers that be are after me and don't like me. And then you kill that party and start over.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best advice for any murder hobo party is that right there. Doesn't have to be right away. Right. And people should be fearful of them. But this is one where I'm a big proprietor for.
You have this terrible curse on you. There's a guy. He is a tinker, but he had the special ability to remove the curse.
Yeah,
he will save you. Trust me. And they're like, "What do he look like?"
Yep.
Yeah. Consequences for action should definitely come to follow them.
Yeah. And that's the other advice with DMs. If you need to rethink your plot, meaning if plan A doesn't work out, so to speak, you have an idea this will probably happen, and the characters go in and prematurely gets to the villain before you even think of it or something, or start going off the rookers, which happens at times. They might get overly aggressive, or they might go away in some tangential direction some other way, or they might start cooperating with the villain, and that might be a good thing or a bad thing depending on you see. So it's and also in how many ways are you supposed to be devious? Are you doing just a reverse plot that will then turn out that the good guy is the villain, or is it like a double reverse thing, or something when you have but both parties, both the friendly and the villains are not who they say they are and stuff like that. So you have to, in some ways, don't overcomplicate it. But I used to go with, I might tend to go with more moving part rather than obfuscate things too much.
Yeah,
I tend to have more moving parts. There are usually more than two factions in it. There is not only one good and one bad side. There's a lot of sides that are competing over influence in an area or whatever, so to speak, and they use various methods and stuff, and it's basically up to the players to navigate and ally with whoever they want, and sometimes they realize, we don't want to work with these people anymore because they don't turn out to be who they were, so to speak. And there you have an interesting plot. Do the players say the characters just leave, right, or do they feel like we're so portrayed, so we're going to revenge and clean out house before we leave, so to speak, and stuff like that.
Like the hitman in Dumb and Dumber said, you don't kill someone you don't know.
So that revenge thing, isn't that Bruce Willis's Die Hard 3?
I never saw it, so I'm gonna have to
It's
take your.
it's Hans's
It's a long
brother,
time since I saw them.
right?
Yeah.
Jeremy Irons
Yeah.
plays the brother of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
He
and
killed
that's
the
the other.
first one. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is that in a lot of movies and stories in books and stuff, you have a lot of personal revenge is one of the most common method, meaning someone comes in and murder my family, whatever. So now I get even and stuff. In my opinion, that seems to work a little bit less. It doesn't work as well in role-playing games, because if you have characters and you present them with whatever, first you need to root the characters for the players into the plot and the environment. If you have a lot of NPCs, whether they are called their parents or their dogs or their neighbors or whatever it is, if there is no connection made yet in game, then the players will not feel that they haven't been wronged enough, so to speak. So don't start out with that. A lot of movies and stuff, they start out with that horrible scene
it's
and
not
then
realistic.
they move on. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because
it's hard to do.
Yeah.
With one person, it's easy.
Yeah.
With a group, it's much harder.
Yeah.
Because they all have to have skin in the game.
Yep.
Right?
And that comes with time. So I usually don't plot in, like my Shieldlands campaign, for instance. One of the first things was that I have one of the major villains coming through, the Vakunis, the village, and I thought that will be kind of just an interesting dire event, so to speak. But they managed to drum up enough support, got lucky, and killed them off, and in the second session. And then all of a sudden, that they gave me a chance, like, oh, now I use this stuff. Now they were in the hot seat from the beginning, so to speak. So they gave me a chance to ramp up the speed of the campaign. So sometimes it can work out anyway, so to speak. But I never got a chance to cause much mayhem because the players thwarted me and they beat me to and got to me first, so to speak. But I think that you need to invest more in the campaign and let that happen, or let the dice and fate kind of make it happen. Yeah. And the players will tell they will tell you when it's time, so to speak. When they start feeling like something is dear to them, that's when you take it away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I usually don't plot and say, okay, that's going to happen, that NPC is going to die. No, I let the dice decide. So sometimes the die.
You can have revenge on people without even actually killing them. Like I had it in the city state where there's great, knighting and titles. They receive their noble titles and they're riding back, and their villain competitor arranged to have all the swine herds have their swines on the road right as they were passing, and had little kids, paid them a penny each to throw poo at them as they pass by. What are you gonna do? Kill all the kids?
Alan would.
Yeah.
Alan did. Alan did in the what do you call it? Hidden Temple of Erythnol from Vortex State. They were all singing. I had all the kids of the baddies in a room, and they all joined hands. Instead of singing "Ring Around the Rosie," they're like, "You all suck. You're gonna die." And around the circle, his elf character went crazy. It just slaughtered them all. I was like, "That's freaking evil." We talked about this multiple times. So you can always get people to do stuff outside of character if you know how to prod them, right? Poke.
And like a good DM will always push.
Yeah, exactly. Push.
But to me, that's part of both the interesting, the scary, and the fun of role-playing games, is that you play with. And this is, I have to say, this is for adults. This is not something you do with kids or minors when you play. And I play with adults. I play people that are old enough to understand this for decades, so to speak. So I need to say that. And I also want to say my campaigns have a lot of these horrible themes like slavery and stuff like that, but I consider them all evil, so to speak. These themes are evil. These things like torture and also that stuff, it's evil. It's there for the same reason you have it there in movies and books and plays and dramas and stuff, because as a drama and dramatic effect, when we tell stories and create them, it's interesting because conflict is one of the motivations to do this stuff. And I think one of the goals for this is not to have the characters be superheroes. No, but everyday heroes. That's where I want them to be, so to speak.
When you make the bad guys evil enough,
mm-hmm.
then you want to kill them, and it makes it easy to kill them.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah. So it's like, yeah, I want my game sessions to be therapeutic in that sense, that you should feel as a player that you have agency to make something better in the world. Meaning you can't right the wrongs in the real world because we're just normal human beings. We don't have the power to do it. But in our fantasy games, we can do that.
Once they slit, William Wallace's wife's neck right in the middle of the square, in that movie, it was over. It was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And then after that, you're like, free carte blanche, do whatever you want. You don't really care how many of the bad guys get killed.
Yep.
Or just put them in Nazi uniforms, and it's pretty much the same thing.
Same thing.
But you have to create these kind of symbols and stuff in your campaign. You have to create the villainous symbols, the stuff and history, and that's why. And it can be done partially through backstory and lore, but only partially, because the players need to be invested. They need to have taken agency and seen this and failed and succeeded on and off, so to speak, and feel like they need to make it their world to a large enough extent to feel like they are invested in it, in the stories and in the world and the setting. And it's hard work, but it's fun. Yeah.
Troy just asked, do you think making a mystery adventure scenario is hard to execute due to players doing what you as the DM don't want them to do? And the answer to that is yes.
You have to base the adventure. You have to make an adventure based on your group.
Yeah. Assassin's Knot is tough to run, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that.
Yeah. It depends. One of the best advice is, I forget where I remember reading it or hearing it, but they talk about, there's tons of stuff for DM's advice. What's the advice for players? And probably the best thing I ever heard was, if you want to be a good player, lean in to the adventure that the DM is doing. Buy into it. You know, if you're supposed to be doing an adventure, just for example, it's like where you're going to find the ancient dwarven axe of the dwarvish lords. Don't make a character that's an elf that all they care about is outdoors and trees and something that's so contrary that as soon as you enter the the dungeon or what have you, like, oh, I don't want to be here, or that edgelord that doesn't want to work with anybody, the lone wolf sort of thing. It's like, don't do that sort of stuff. It's like you make your guy is an archaeologist obsessed with dwarven.
Or if you're if you want to be an elf, just say, I'm an elf. I'm going to show how much superior elves are by finding this dwarf axe they couldn't figure out for themselves. So
exactly, but find your way to lean into the story, and that'll make everybody's life easier and happier. So
it makes for a more fun game.
And I think Troy had about mystery games. You don't need to sell it as a mystery game. Don't do it up front, so to speak. Have the mystery be a part of the game, something they realize they will need later, and place plot hooks that you think will be useful much later. Place them early on, meaning if you have something you want to have, like an artifact being presented much later in the game, present the lore about it in early on, so to speak, and present parts of the lore that's just boring. They don't need to remember it. They just need to have a vague understanding. We've heard that story. So when they see the thing, in my campaign, I had an artifact being presented last session. They only saw a glimpse of it, but they saw it in action. And I presented the plot hooks and the backstories for that artifact in session 2, thinking that sooner or later I'm going to introduce the artifact, and the artifact is the Ring of Moxlick, and Moxlick being one of the ancient elder dragon beings, so to speak, in the world. So the world snake, so to speak, Moxlick. It's part of semi Greyhawk lore. The term Moxlick is mentioned here and there, but not explained much.
Okay.
And I have it as the heraldry that is on the original IU's shield.
Is that like the
So
Midgard?
it
Is that like the
ties into it,
Midgard
yeah.
serpent?
Yeah, exactly. It's the Greyhawk
Yeah.
version of the Midgard serpent and the ring of Moxlick. And it was hinted at and it was part of lore that was I talked about it on session 2, but the players were like, okay, this is just some random old fairy tale, so to speak. And
Was
now
it Vecna? Yeah. Didn't Vecna worship the
Vecna was a lot of old folks back then. That he was one of the major gods back then. I have it in my campaign. So old Flandom, that was a big part of it. And that's probably why I use in my campaign, why he has it on his shield, because it is an old Flan symbol. And he wants to reuse it just a way of saying, oh, I was around 1,000 years ago. I'm old Flan and I have my roots, so to speak, a way of brandishing his credentials that he barely has. He's only like 300 years old or 280 or something. So he wants to brandish the old trusty symbols from back in the day, so to speak. It's part of his marketing thing.
His marketing play.
yeah, branding. You need to brand even in the fantasy world. It's important to brand. For evil overlords and demigods, it's very important to brand yourself.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
What about giving them or them finding an ancient artifact and then they're so scared to use it, right, Tim? But and after 20 years, someone actually forces someone to use it. Right?
You're talking about Bill?
I'm talking about in the Crown. Yeah, it was 22-year plot hook. I want to see how long it went on, but it was.
Servilia has you guys acquired a number of magic items, and you've only uncovered like 2 of them.
Yep.
The rest of them you're still scared.
Yeah, I'm leaving them. I'm not even messing with them. I know. It's only bad can come from
just
those,
a book, Jay. What's wrong with it?
I'm not touching it.
It's only bad if you read it.
It's only bad if you, it's only bad if you even do anything because Tim never gives good items.
Roscoe has the flask, and that by owning it, he can actually give somebody return their youth to them once a month.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Right. What's wrong with it?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
In the flask, though, is an entrapped greater devil, and if he lets him out to do a task, he has to give it a human sacrifice. Besides that.
Yeah, that's so.
Well, there's always a downside.
Just don't let him out.
There's always a downside. I've learned. I've never, especially with Tim. So you just
not
don't.
Always.
I let the other minions.
What's in the green bottle?
Risk.
The green liquid. Yeah. What is that?
What is that? Something I'm not touching or drinking.
And then there's that one.
I was going to say nasty liquids might not be. Might be.
No.
Jay needs to play his X card today.
Yeah. Well, I got orange
contained inside another bottle of fluid.
What I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm not touching it either. Let the lower level chumps deal with that. My characters aren't
they're
touching
not much lower.
They're chumps still.
Jubilex juice. That's awesome.
Juice, Yuck.
No, actually,
awesome.
Dweebelex is much closer to my reverse dungeon game. By the way.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna see that. We're gonna talk about that. So, by the way, everyone, next Sunday is the Virtual Con 4 Prelude Gabbin show. All right, because it's the Sunday before, so just so everyone's aware.
I'm gonna have to roll in a couple minutes.
Understood, man. I appreciate you hopping on. So, all right, Tim, give us a couple other ideas before you depart.
For plot hooks?
Yeah, for whatever you want to discuss, plot hooks, items, quest ideas.
The best plot hook that works is, well, when my daughter played, it was no amount of money or treasure or reward ever was as useful as, I need help. My son's missing. Can you help me? Mm-hmm. That was right. She was just so good. She was just like, and that was it. She was off the help. And you can use that 2 ways. If their party is really helpful, you can make it where it's great, and then you can also make it where the person asking is evil and has them doing something terrible. Mm-hmm. But most parties, if you ask for help, I need help. Most of them aren't like, well, you don't have 100 gold, we're not doing it. I don't think most groups aren't that way, but if they are,
it's a short night.
It's like, well, Good night, guys.
Hey, by the way, your horses have been impounded. If you want them back, I have this problem you could help me with.
I got a question.
That's kind of awesome.
I got a question. So, what magic item do you like the least? Which is the most troublesome for you as a DM?
Rub of eyes.
I love the rub of eyes. I'll just cast continual light on it. You'll be blinded. Every single eye's looking at it.
I would say magic items that do mental control. They are to me kind of difficult, especially mental control.
Ride up beguiling so overpowered.
So all these kind of command, these kind of.
They're great for stories, though.
Oh yeah, exactly.
They are great for stories.
Yeah, they're great for stories, but as soon as the player characters are involved, they're kind of, I don't like them one way or the other.
Yeah, they should never own them. They should never have them.
Yeah. And it's
I know that my guys, especially Alan, hate, and I don't know if they're like this in the later editions, the Talisman of Ultimate Evil, Talismans of Pure Good. That
those aren't even around it.
There's no save, and it doesn't. A first level character could have one and kill a 20th level evil priest with it. Opens up, just like in Tengen, gone. That's it. There's no save.
Yeah, so, I would never use an item that automatically turns someone evil, so to speak.
No, it would instantly kills you permanently.
Oh, okay, that's kind of sad too, but that's at least that's something I can see feasible that I might use for some reason. But the items that turn someone instantly evil, then the player just have to play it that way. That will be, to me, ridiculous. But to tempt them to be evil, that is something I do constantly, giving them stuff like, "Oh, if you do this,
don't even need the magic item for that."
Exactly. So I like to tempt my players to start playing evil characters, so to speak, and tempt them over to the evil side, because it's much more convenient to be there. You have more options, so to speak. So corruption from that sense, but that should be part. That's the important player agency. It's the player's decision to what he wants to do that way. I don't want the mechanics to just say, "Oh, now you just need to play that. You need to obey that thing," and so on and so forth. That I have difficulty with, and it's a traditional old fantasy thing, and it's built into D&D rules from the get-go, but they have toned it down in the later editions, but it's still kind of tricky to do. It's something that might work monster NPC, then there's more room for it, but I want the same rules to apply between NPCs, monsters, and player characters. I want the same rules for everybody, so to speak. So I don't want there should be some rule when monsters fight NPCs or vice versa. I don't want them to use another set of rules and then the player characters operate under other rules. No, I want the same rules to apply across the universe, so to speak.
One of my magic items I dislike.
That's a 5-minute warning again.
Is the bag of holding.
Yeah,
I hate those things.
Yeah, it's.
Hold on a second. Here's exactly what we needed.
Yeah.
Oh wait, we're in this place. We don't.
Yeah, but you need to start thinking D&D physics, meaning how do these things operate? Do they work everywhere? What happens inside? Where is that extra dimensional space carved out from? Is it accessible
every area effect spell? Make a save.
Yeah.
Yes,
they will stop carrying as much.
Yeah, you need to start thinking what happens if you're bringing it to the astral plane or down to hell or something or so you need to start thinking that is something I think you can use
just don't give them out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you catch loot and you're just throwing loot in there, and the loot was another bag of holding, which causes a rift and a tear in the space-time continuum and creates a sphere of annihilation.
Well, there might be some creators who love to live in these small extra-dimensional spaces because they're very nice and usually have a lot of yummy stuff in there, whatever they are, so to speak. You can come up with some cool thematic stuff that might work, but you just need to make sure the rules are tweaked for it, so to speak. It should affect bad guys as much as good guys. So yeah,
like the mimic.
I'm gonna have to go. It's been great. I have some stuff I got to do.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. Good luck, Jay. Hopefully you'll be pure after this.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Cleanse.
Cleanse.
Thanks,
maybe.
Tim.
You're nah. Bye, Tim.
So, yeah, that's a good discussion point on that. Speaking of, while I'm here still, we'll do that while I'm here. Here's another character that has Grimslade. You talk about in your latest one, right? This is a character by Harold Johnson. He's neutral mage. So it's amazing the weird stuff they got in gameplay that there was never rules written for, like this permanent suggestion, so that he can't tell the truth.
He can only tell with half truths. And he had it cast on himself so that he could only tell. I was like, that's kind of cool. I dig that. I dig that. Probably and what I've put in with each one of these when I did the magic item, I put in a bit of the history of that character, and it tickles me to read these character intros, because it's like Grimslade, when you read it, go, God, this guy sounds like he was a pain in the ass to run. It's like it's like basically it's like, you can't tell me what to do. I'll do whatever I want.
It sounds like they're, from what I gather. Sorry about this if anyone disagrees. Gary had a lot of egos to deal with. Gary's a big ego, but he had Jim Ward and Hammock and Johnson and Zeb, and they're all trying to outdo each other with really quirks and Rob Kuntz, and this is the effect of it all, because it really was one big play test. So,
but I think that was also very much part of old school. You were supposed to brain test each other. It was kind of a try to outwit each other between the DM and the players, and sometimes between players too. That was a big part of old school gaming, something that we have moved away from in later editions. And for me, I think it's mostly for good, but it's a grain of fun in that part too. So I don't want to completely lose it, but I definitely want it to be much less of the core of the game that it used to be.
Right. I think the big misconception too is that a lot of people nowadays, when they hear that, they think player versus player, not player competing against player.
Right.
Whereas they weren't trying to backstab each other.
No. It was
but they were in competition with each other to get deeper in the dungeon, to get more gold, to get to a higher level,
more renowned. Right.
Exactly. It was, and so that was a part of it. That was in there.
But so, it's also that part of play style.
One sec. Just with this, you turn this into a save item, cursed, but it's kind of cool, right? For this, because and I continue that thought. I apologize because I
no problem.
See a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, so I was going to say that depends on that is a perfectly viable play style to play the game even to this day. It should be up to the people around the game table. If you want to play it old school in that way, then nothing should stop you from doing it, and you can thoroughly enjoy yourselves just like you did back in the good old days, so to speak.
That's probably the biggest problem I have with I should say the influx of new DMs, new players, is the point of view that D&D is how it's being presented currently. And like that's it with the advice, DM's advice and all this different stuff. And they just go, well, it's all coming from the standpoint that it's all high adventure, story driven, and so forth, and so everything is funneled down that scope, as opposed to, like, I think the first thing that anybody should say to any DM when they're talking about stuff is like, well, what's your table like? They hardly ever do that. They just go blazing right into different ways to drive the story and blah blah blah, and it's like, well, if you got a table that doesn't really give two red cents about the story, they're just there to have fun and maybe play that sort of competitive sort of game or whatever. It's like,
but I think these dimensions of the game are important to be aware of, so you can place yourself where you want and you and your players want to be. Like it's like for some people, it's a game, meaning it's the amount of pluses you get, the amount of XP you get, the amount of treasure you get, how much you level up, etc. It's a very mechanical game in that sense that the game mechanics are an essential, vital most important part in order for a lot of players and DMs to have fun, so to speak. It's a game where you don't lose it, but you can certainly win it by having more stuff. I have a +5 instead of a +4. I mean, come on, I've spent 10 sessions in order to get that. So that's an essential key part of the game. And then you have the other opposite end of it. It's more like improv with a little bit of scaffolding to kind of put the rein in the free form improv and voiceovers and have fun and interact as your character and all that stuff. And the rules are just a little bit of, we all need to have a little bit of guidelines for the story kind of thing. And both are perfectly perfect, awesome ways of playing the game. It's just a matter of you need to find where you need to put the sweet spot, because it is a continuum from one to the other, and you need to understand where you want to be as a DM and where your players want to be, and so on. So but I think it's you need, as a player and a DM, you need to be aware of that.
I was afraid that was going to happen. All right, so it looks like you guys just have me now. So to continue on with that point, I think knowing your table and knowing the people at your table is probably one of the most important. No, you're back.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
Yeah. The did you go ahead, finish your point? I was
I just kept talking because I didn't know if it was you, me, you hung up. So
I don't know if it was you or me either. So okay, I just started talking too.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Great. Then we kept it. So yeah. So any other of these kind of, when it comes to structure the game, so to speak, you have the rules versus story and RP and so on. That's one of these dimensions. Any other dimensions we should start thinking on how to structure the game around, or at least be aware of?
Yeah, well, that's what I always say. The most important thing to do is to know your table, and then everything. Once you know your table, you know how to build. You know what type of adventures you should do. You should know what type of quests you should put them on, what type of treasure that they can have. Those are the sort of things that everything branches out from there. And then, like I've said in the past too, is if the table that you have, the players that you're playing with, aren't conducive to how you like to run the game, as painful as that sounds, it's time to get a new table. It's time to get different players, or at least you shouldn't be the DM for that group.
Yeah,
because
and it's important to say that not everybody likes to play with everybody else. There are different ways of playing the game. So some people you love to play with, other people not so much. And we need to be respectful of it both ways, so to speak. So not step on people's toes deliberately, but be aware of it. And I was thinking one other thing is that it ties into a little bit to rules, but it's a little bit different. Some people and players and DMs love resource management. They want the game of survival, meaning how do we have enough food to last us, or water or healing or whatever it is, and we can run out, so to speak. And they want resource management is kind of fun. That's part of it. Makes you feel rich or poor and stuff like that. Others, they don't want any of that crap. No encumbrance. They don't even count money, and they just skip it. So what's your take on is that important way of leading, guiding the game?
It is.
Okay.
That's another thing is if your party likes that sort of thing and you don't, well, then see that again. It's the rhubarb. It's the rub.
Yeah.
It's not where, if you think that's something that's very compelling and they don't.
Yeah.
I personally, I'm a stickler, not so much for the weight on things, but I'm a stickler for what you actually have.
Yeah.
Like one thing that's really big for me, that's not really big for just about anybody. I mean, there's not very many groups that do it.
Let me guess. Spell components.
Yep, spell components. Number one, you wanna rein in a bunch of stuff. Just start really adhere to the rules as written in certain situations.
They need some bat guano. There might not be bat guano around here. So
that's right. I know you're on like a Caribbean island,
Mm-hmm.
or
in the
it's all
middle of
like
winter and you need a dead spider or something, and there's or like a spider, and you don't need there's no one to be had here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you should really take that sort of stuff into consideration.
I really, the spell components is underutilized. I've heard now several podcasts where I heard, we should just skip that part. No, that's really, I think it's a vital part of the game, especially the valuable ones.
Yeah, and then that goes again. See, I find that stuff great, but I'm also one of the people that the best role playing and the best games come out of the failures, not the successes.
Exactly.
And how you are able to cope with failures.
Yep.
That's it's the same, because that is basically how fiction is written, right? So a story where everything goes Jack's way is a boring story.
Yep.
A story where Jack has to overcome problems, that's an interesting story.
Yeah. Near TPKs are often the most fun encounters.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, when the character's life hangs in the balance more than once, so to speak, in a game session, that can be a lot of fun. And especially if it's not seen as you manipulating it, it actually was this close, so to speak. And it's kind of almost miraculously the dice saved us, or some smart use of magic or positioning, or with a little bit of luck, so to speak. That is a lot of fun. So you need to go in and to kind of, you have to set it up for it to happen without the players realizing that you set it up to happen, so to speak.
Exactly.
And that's an art form. And one of the key things here is to how long should monsters last, or opponents in general last.
Yeah, more monsters should retreat than do.
Oh yeah, most monsters want to survive because that's the, at least the ones who are living, because that makes certain monsters like undeads and stuff really scary, because they have no such qualms. They will fight to the bitter end, and that makes them. Remember Lord of the Rings with the Nazguls? They will come after you forever and so on. That is something that you need to. So you need to make mundane monsters much less scary in order to make the scary ones scarier, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. Hi, John.
Yep.
I am here. I got.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good.
So.
Yep.
He's soldiering on.
I'm soldiering on.
Mm-hmm.
Woof. It's hard to come. I don't even know where. You
don't even know where we're at. So you just
right
that's
we're solving all the problems here. So
the beauty of it is, Jay, is that Anna and I, we can go down tangents like nobody's business.
Right.
So exactly.
You leave, we finish up that.
That's okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, it's good stuff.
All right. So, how about an item? How about something like items out of like that exist in published source, but right away stated you don't know where they are now. I'm not talking about all artifacts and stuff, but powerful items or whatever. I like a plot hook where not that they're looking for it, but they come across someone who has one, right? So, for example, my Vespi Forest group, and let me bring up a picture here if I can do this. Okay. This is the best picture I could find for it. Right. An ebon skull. There supposedly are 3 ebon skulls. Now, if I think it's in Eyes Evil. I think it's in Eyes Evil, and it talks about one of the ebon skulls was stolen by a woman or a person. They don't know who I made her a female woman. They just call it the passing shadow. Now, in the lands of Ayus, where the hell are they going to run to? So I have them running into the middle. The Vespi Forest is a great place to hide. So the group up there, and it's a higher level group, has come across this person. Her name's Dominique, and she just is hanging out with them just as a thief, saying she's on the run, or she's got a price on her head from elves or whatever, lying, But the plot hook was, now they're suspicious. They've heard of this missing skull, ebon skull that the Irish troops are looking for all over the place, and they're worried: is this person going to bring the heat down on us? Right. So just as an idea of taking something that is in existence, has a little neat storyline to it. You don't have to ever, but not giving them the power, but having the power nearby, and hopefully I didn't completely change.
I think that points to one, I think, important aspect that I think is often misdone in a lot of fantasy. Most of these items are not found in some old tomb somewhere to be found. Most of the artifacts and stuff, they are used, guarded, treasured, defended, and so on. So almost all the artifacts and stuff that or powerful magic items in my campaign, they are used by someone. They are tools in active use, so to speak. Or they might be, if the enemy get hold of it and can't destroy it, then you lock it up somewhere. Those are the thing. But then they're actively guarded. They're not put in a tomb to be forgotten for 2,000 years, so to speak. It's so very few items are that way. Most items are, meaning that the swords, whether they're holy or unholy or evil, they are used by the various sides. So the holy swords are used by the best paladins in the land, and the evil ones are meaning I make sure that his henchmen are there to expend his power or keep him alive or in power. They have the best tools for the job, so to speak. And so if you want to find an evil +5 sword, you have to go and look among the worst evil villains of the land, because they will have it. So treasure is not something you go and find after the adventure. That's usually something you find during the adventure in the hands of the villains, usually in my campaign.
Yeah, I think one of the things that so D&D is high magic. The world might not be, but generally, the game itself is designed to be that way.
Yeah.
The one problem I have with that, because something that's super powerful, how do you hide said thing, right? There's like, how many spells are there for finding stuff? There's a ton. How many spells are there for hiding stuff?
Not that many.
There's like non-detection. That's like what, one, right? And then that's pretty much it, right? But there's a ton of stuff for finding things. I think that's where because one of the things that I hate is like, okay, you find, some guy, you find a sword. They can't just find a sword and start using it and then start to realize over time, it's a pretty powerful sword. No. That doesn't happen. What happens is they finally go, is it magical? We need to get it checked. Right? So then the next thing they do is they go and it's like, okay, if they can't identify it themselves, they take it someplace and get it identified. Woo, got a purple sword. Right? That is so anticlimactic. It's just like, it's there. Okay.
Yeah.
But there should be more ways to hide and deceive things.
Yeah.
And if you want to do something for your game to add a little more, pizzazz. I don't want to say pizzazz or make it different, especially for pre-existing players. Pre-existing players is where this really comes in. New players coming right in that are totally unique. Usually you don't have this sort of problem because they don't know no better. But you can make up and have these different types of spells and things. Like I love using lead as a blocker for magic.
All right, this one's a quick one. I mean, this one is a quick in between.
Yep.
Sorry.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah.
So,
and one of the things that I try to do is to invent what I would say fantasy logical senses and stuff. So you can have arcane sense, for instance. You can sense where magic is happening, so to speak, and that could be sensed at a long distance. So a ninth level spell can be sensed 9 miles away.
I love that. How you do that.
Yeah. So that means that when you cast high level magic, there's always a risk someone would notice it, so to speak. And powerful spellcasters, powerful monsters like dragons and stuff, gods definitely, and other powerful rulers and stuff like I use and archmages and stuff, they will constantly sense in their surroundings if someone uses magic in their realm, so to speak. And the way this sense work is that it works out to the horizon, up to a certain degree. That's why they build towers, because if you're high up, you can survey the land, not only by visual sense, but by magic sense and evil sense and good. And good and evil is also interesting, because sensing good. If you're a paladin or a priest or someone, that means that you can sense evil. That means that you can sense evil when there's no other evil around. But evil that hides in an evil temple, the whole temple is evil. You don't sense. That becomes a black hole. That you can't use it. So start thinking how you want senses to work in order to facilitate the type of gameplay you want to facilitate, so to speak. Do you want so and that's why I wanted these things to be like it's an ominous feeling. That's the evil, so to speak, and good, vice versa. You can sense these things, and it's not so much it's the critters and stuff that have direct connection to the lower planes and stuff that you wielded magic that are tainted evil or tainted good. These are or you have direct connections. You might serve a creature from the higher planes, or you might use a lot of good magic that are good tainted. Then evils will see you. They will smell and sniff you, and a red dragon might sniff that from miles around, so to speak. He might sense you from having it, or even worse, that abyssal shadow dragon, he might smell you from 100 miles away. You just been here the last month, so to speak. And then you have ethereal vision, where you can trace the presence of things over time. So your aura lingers afterwards, so to speak, if you have ethereal sight. So you have lots of these kind of things. You can sense undeath, for instance, or you can sense life and stuff. So invent some of these senses and make them function in a, I would say, think about D&D physics. Don't let them be absolutes. That they have limitations and they have a certain scope, so to speak. And then give different creatures and stuff these senses and make them act on it, so to speak.
Yeah, and let the players know about it. Don't hide that this is
I give players certain things, and then these senses too, after a while.
And it could be, and you can just, how they always say, show don't tell sort of thing. But so like, the party is in some great powerful good temple in a city, and there hanging on the wall is this great powerful evil sword.
Yeah.
It's and then what the hell is that doing there for? And it's like, well, because this is the only place that we can have it, and we know that they're not sending their boys to come and collect it.
Yeah, and it might also be a way to have the student priest and paladin train their senses. They should be able to sense that, so to speak. If they seem to not react to it, that you're not supposed to be here, so to speak. It's or something like that. Do you notice anything, or something like will be when you invite someone in, or something like that? So it's like the garlic test for vampires kind of thing.
Exactly.
And stuff. So you should have lots of and also when you have like a dragon coming by, you can have the dragon sniff the air and stuff like that and use it. And that also means that a lot of dragons have nasty senses. That means that they can see in the dark for a long distance. They will see you in the dark. And silver dragons are even nastier because they see through cloud and haze and rain and stuff. So some dragons like that, which means that they can fly even in bad light, which makes them nastier as flying creatures, like we talked about.
I like who's that said this? Kai Brightwing is talking about makes it the magic items level. So the layers of so I was thinking of that exactly. So like you can only discern
and several fantasy role-playing games have the similar and then so you have stuff like that, and then you have the classic. We need to mention MacGuffins, meaning the item that is there just to be the thing in the campaign.
To be the thing,
yes. Yeah.
MacGuffins are great.
Yeah.
I mean, like how many quests are fetch quests?
Yeah, it's like the Lord of the Rings. The ring is the MacGuffin, so to speak.
Right?
It's the thing that the whole thing pivots around. And sometimes the MacGuffin is really important. Sometimes it's just important for its own purpose, so to speak. It's just
right. Yeah. 100%.
But sometimes some campaigns should not have MacGuffins. So in my campaign this time, I put in, there's at least 3 artifacts in the game just to make sure that I didn't end up just thinking about one, so to speak. So there's at least
what did you say, MacGuffin?
Yeah, MacGuffin. Yeah.
MacGuffin.
I was going to reply back. I'm sorry. You know I'm out.
No, please.
Say, what's a gigawatt? But that didn't make sense. If anyone get it.
Yeah. I mean, again, it depends on if you've got a party that you can throw out one little piece of something and they will follow and go and actively find leads, then all you have to do is put out one little nugget of something and then let it grow from there. If you got a group that is essentially, I look at it as basically the preschool group. And the reason I say that is because when you go on field trips, you have to have the adult that's leading them along the way. So basically you have to lead them through the adventure. That's when they find the journal. That gives them all kinds of information, and then you give them an option of 3 places that they have to go. Whereas the other group, you just there's just one little thing. What is that? Oh, that's a dark elf so and so dagger.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell's that doing here? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe you should go find out. Well, who would we go to find that out about? That's the type of party. You just put one thing there, and you just you might not even know anything. All you know is that I'm going to put this down here, see what they do, and then we'll figure it out along the way.
Yep. And also a lot of fantasy, kind of standard fantasy, is to take an artifact, split it up into multiple pieces, and they have to go and find the piece. Either the pieces are just hidden and it's just finding them, or the pieces are in competitors' hands. And the Gord novels are a perfect example. That's like the Ring, but in multiple pieces instead of just one ring. So
did you know that the Rod of 7 Parts was originally a tournament module that was the Dwarven Rod of 7 Parts? It was a Dwarven adventure. I would love to get my hands on that.
That will be cool. That's a cool way of making it into a Dwarven thing.
Yeah, but that's awesome. How it started before the one that Skip wrote and whatnot. That's what it was. I was like, man, I'd love to get my hands on that.
I like it.
Okay, sorry, go on.
Please
go ahead.
I was going to say I like items that scale. So, for example,
I do too.
Last night, if you saw, Exeli got the previous adventure she was on. She got her shadow amulet, which this mysterious individual is giving all the shadow mages out in the campaign, where there's 6 gem slots, and as you add a gem, you get another power. So the most anyone ever has is 3 gem slots so far. So, and it's little things, but it adds up on a character. But they don't know what the secret purpose for that shadow amulet is, which will be it's been a long-term plot arc going back almost now. It's got to be 20 years now, but I think this one's going to run another 10 to 20 years, as because we don't have any super high level shadow mages yet in the campaign. So
it was 2nd edition that had it where you could pump your experience into items to make magic items. Correct?
No, it was 3rd.
That was third edition.
Was that third edition that did
yes.
that one?
Yeah.
Okay. I never used it when
I thought it was
when
a
I
great
played
idea.
3rd, but now I think it's an excellent idea.
Yep. Yeah.
Because
and
that can give you the option of the character can decide, like, well, I want to be that character, and I have this super great item.
Yeah.
And and I'm not as great, but my item's really great, and the two of us together are really great.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome. I think that's a really great thing.
Yeah, it is also a good way of explaining why wizards and other NPCs who could crank out tons of magic items don't do that. It limits the supply of these things, because they actually have to take their life investment, so to speak, invest
a little
themselves
bit of themselves
into
it.
Yeah. So I think that mechanics makes a lot of sense from a lot of perspectives. So money is one part, and then it's another currency you have to invest in your magic items.
Right.
And now you can only, because then they have the slot system where you can wear this many rings or whatever, and people started looking like Christmas trees. And that's why they have the attunement mechanics in 5th edition.
I think attunement was attunement and concentration were 2 really good additions.
Yeah.
To it. It answered a lot of
and they also
issues.
tweakable to some degree, meaning you can, if you want to beef it up, you can say, well, certain mage, for instance, might be able to concentrate on 2 spells, or concentrate on a lower spell and 1 spell, and then add a lower spell or something like that. So you can tweak certain things, or you can say, well, the god gives you this ability to attune to certain magic items automatically because you're serving so and stuff like that. So you can you can make deliberate few exceptions to the rule as needed for your campaign, so to speak. They don't need to be, but that goes with every rule. But in that sense, you can make individual ones that can seem logical in some sense, because that's part of the game, is that as character gets better and stuff, they're breaking the rules. That's why we put feats and magic items are there, to break the original rules and for fun and for power, so to speak.
The one thing that I'm starting to, I'm leaning more and more towards, and I know a lot of people won't like this, but where magical items are unique unto themselves unless they're consumable.
Yeah,
that's not a bad idea.
In the fact that, like, yeah, there is a bag of holding. There's not bags of holding. So, like, and there would never be a magic shop. It's like, it's like there's a ring of telekinesis out there, a ring of telekinesis. And so I'm leaning more and more towards that. It's a different style, just like we were saying earlier. It's a different style of play, though.
Well, yeah,
once you institute that sort of thing, because it is not standard Dungeons and Dragons by any sense of the matter.
Yeah, and also when it comes to how prevalent magic is, there's 2 dials here. One is how powerful magic can be mechanically, so to speak. Meaning, do magic go all the way up to 9th level spell? Do you even have eldritch magic that is even more powerful? And the other, and magic items and stuff. The other is, how common is magic? Meaning, magic can be very powerful, but it can be a tiny little elite of special beings that can only use magic, and everybody else is clueless. Or magic is everywhere, and you have bakeries that use elemental fire ovens, and you have teleport stuff as a postal service and whatnot at the other end.
Right.
So you can have low powered but pervasive magic everywhere, or you can have high powered and magic is hardly anywhere to be found, so to speak. And anyone who wields it will be considered godlings by the common folks.
I look at it this way. It's the difference between Superman and Batman. You got people who like Superman and Superman stories, and essentially he's got power that he can do pretty much anything he wants, and the people that he has to fight, have to be to a certain extent, Lex Luthor excluded, they got to wield a certain amount of power to be able to threaten him. Whereas Batman can mess with lots of people, because what he's depending on is his brain and trying to figure out how to
training and cool gadgets.
Training, gadget, and finding the right circumstance and situation and whatnot. And that, to me, is what, is the other aspect of the low magic end, or what have you. And neither is wrong, no,
it's
right.
It's a matter
just
of taste,
different flavor. It's just a matter of different
I don't
flavor.
like the superhero thing that much either, because that renders a large part of the setting useless. Because all of a sudden you have a lot of ordinary critters and people and whatever. They are kind of non-interesting. They're just there as flavor. And I like the whole setting to matter. So that's why I want to have a large power range, but everybody should operate under the same rules, so to speak. There are no superheroes. They're just more powerful critters that are stronger and smarter and so on and so forth. But even the gods are, in my opinion, they are not directly individually that much more powerful. It's the way they can sway power more in general terms. Meaning that my biggest gods is not that they are personally super powerful, but they can sway the minds and get enormous amount of creatures to act on their will, so to speak, and on their whim. That is their big strength. They either by scaring them or influencing them one way or the other. That's where I have my god's superpowers, so to speak. It's more institutionalized and indirect. They they have armies of cultists or priests or holy men or whatever it is, so to speak, in order to do their bidding, and that's where they get their powers. You have to fight lots of them to get to the powerful beings. So
well, like the overabundance of healing magic, it totally changes how you play.
Yeah,
it's just one of those things. That's one of the things that I like. Okay, so why aren't all these good clerics just healing the hell out of everybody? And it's like, okay, so well, why would that be? Is it because well, you don't worship this god, so they aren't willing to pass on to you that sort of healing?
It's part of the deity's power is to give that, so to speak, and
so then what happens to the party when the party's down in the dungeon? It's like, does everybody worship that dude's god? Because if not, I think that is far more entertaining.
Yeah, and if they go on murder hobo spree, the god don't like it, and there will be no more healing, and all of a sudden it malfunctions. But it also means that the evil ones in my campaign, the Ayusian priests, for instance, they can't heal.
Yeah,
they have no healing. So that's the thing. So but they have versions. They can give temperate hit points. They can convince you that you're invincible for a little bit and say, oh, you can do it, so to speak, and give you temporary. Right. That's basically deluding you into don't feel pain for a bit, so to speak.
Or they'll just bring in a couple of slaves. They'll suck the life energy out of them.
Exactly.
And
that's the other one. They steal life from other creatures. So they basically murder someone to give to someone else. Yeah. So those are the other ways they can give you false hit points, so to speak.
And that's life. Yeah. That too is something that it's okay. Now we're taking a look back into the plot. To the plot hooks, and you can see how these sort of things all then lean into how your stories are told.
Yep.
It's like, okay, if you have a low healing world where, like, okay, you got to worship that god to get healed, and not, it's like you go to a temple and there are no clerics there. There's a bunch of priests, but there's no clerics there. Well, an item that can heal, that's a big deal. The original Dragonlance, when it first came out, right? Okay, there's no clerics. There's one cleric, Gold Moon. That's the only one that is given Paladin is given the healing magic to again. And it's like, wow, if you go through like that first adventure, that's a big deal. And they even buff her up by giving her a healing staff because of that simple thing. It's like, that's a really big deal. Yeah. So there's no healing potions laying around for these guys. Totally changes how you approach something. 100%.
Yeah. And I have friends. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just rambling at that point.
Yeah. And I was going to say one of the interesting things, you can then wonder, why isn't everybody worshiping the good gods to get all this fancy healing and stuff? No, but the evil ones have some nasty tricks. One is to scare you into like, ooh, come on, at night, so to speak. When you scare at night, that god will not be there to protect you, so to speak.
Right.
And that's one. And the other say, oh, do you want to kiss that cleric's hand too often? You have to pay a lot of fees and stuff, and you have to live in that city, and there's no one else to do you want to go over and test life here? Can be, you don't have to suck up to that temple anymore, so to speak, and all sorts of stuff, so to speak. And you don't like how that city is run or how that realm is run, don't live under the boot of these clerics and stuff. Meaning,
come on over
it's
here,
propaganda and stuff like that. Yeah, propaganda. And so, do you want to be rich? Do you and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of evil propaganda, so to speak, and scare. They will say that, he can't defend you all the time. When you're asleep at home, everybody can't live in the temple. They don't let you. They live behind the walls, and you get to live outside here in a little hut somewhere. And they live in riches, and you're just wretched little thing. They don't care for you, etc., etc. So you can kind of build on this in a fantasy kind of world, so to speak. You can have the evil cultists that go around spreading fear and hatred and all the stuff, so to speak, and to stir up this stuff, so to speak.
Yeah, because there's got to be, that's one of the things too. It's like, okay, who the hell's gonna worship Erythnal? I mean, Like,
well, there's always someone who feels like, though they didn't let me play, now I'm going to have my revenge on them, so to speak. They mistreated me. So
there's got to be, their salesmen have a pitch, right?
Yeah,
there's got to be a
definitely.
reason that they can get people in there. So you should.
Oh yeah, they're telling.
That.
They sit up there in their temples and they eat fancy food and stuff, and you get nothing. You get the scraps and the leftovers and stuff, and their fat bellies up there, and so on. They have the fine wine, and you sit here and drink nothing, and in the inn and stuff, and you can barely afford it, and so on. So lots of stuff like that. Or they simply scare you, and by murdering some people and scrape the Nero symbol on them and say that, look, he can't defend you, he can't, but we can. We can defend you, and you want some law and order, these people can't give it to you and stuff. You can start playing, and then you can either let the characters want to deal with it, meaning do the characters stand up and join the rebellion, the people that feel that they're mistreated, or do they join the church in order to quench these rebellious muggins that walk around causing trouble and mischief and stuff like that. So if you want them to dig deep into politics, you have lots of
if you don't want to get that deep down the well like we are, you could just have evil for evil's sake. Right? Just like it's like the big controversy about, is that me or no?
What?
Oh, I can't hear Anna. Anna, you're muted.
Anna, it's on your end. It's on Anna's end.
Six.
There it goes.
Your sound went out for about 10 seconds.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it was now I always get the sign that it's unstable after it happens.
Yeah. I got worried because I was like, is that me? I look over and I see that Jay's moving. I'm like, okay, it's not me.
It's always at this time at around 6 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah. But weird. It's like evil for evil's sake. You can have that. You don't have to get this deep in the weeds. But I mean, that was the big thing about, like, they were talking about with the orcs and stuff and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, you bad guys can just be bad guys to be bad guys.
Absolutely.
You don't need to go and get that all kind of, try and look at it philosophically. I mean, you hold anything the right way, it's going to look the way you want it to.
Yeah.
So,
one thing on this healing side discussion, Sam Weiss brought up a good point, and that is that adventurers and heroes in your game function at a separate level than the commoners, right? Mm-hmm. It's just, that's something you got to consider in that too. So yeah,
I kind of like I've gravitated towards, and in the game I'm designing, it's basically the which I shouldn't say game, it's my house rules. Mm-hmm. The breather, whereas you can have because so much of the hit points are abstract, right? It's not all physical damage and stuff.
No, it's
so basically you should have them after, like, 10 minutes after a fight, they should be able to get back like X amount of hit points, and it's not magical or anything. It's just them resting and whatnot. This way that it takes away some of that burden of having to have.
Yeah, you can have like short rest. You have surges from 4th edition and stuff. So but old school was much stricter in that. But what the fact that you have characters operate much higher on the commoners, that's part of the superhero discussion we had before. If you can run D&D, and it's perfectly viable to run it that way, that characters are much tougher than the rest of the breed, so to speak. The common people are nowhere near, and 5e plays under these circumstances. That's why the backstories and stuff. You've been a soldier, or you've been a sailor, or you're a pirate, or whatever it is, meaning you are already much more of a hero than the ordinary folks are, and that's the part of the game. And that's definitely one way of playing it that could be a lot of fun. So, and a lot of players, they want it to be that way. You should be special from day one.
And a lot of people like that because that's their escapism. It's the fantasy of being that superhero, which I'm totally down for. And again, it goes
I'm
back
the opposite. I start nobody when you start. So,
right? I prefer that to play for sure.
Yeah.
And it's like if other people, if they want to do it like that, and
you can have superheroes in the making, or you can have 0 level commoners that you start with. So
I've kind of lent more towards I use meta currency. It's real similar to the hero points and all this different stuff. The characters themselves can be weaker, but I give them a meta currency which they have to learn how to manage properly. Because if you don't manage it properly, then you're not as super as you could be, and then you're left holding the bag, and that's when you die, right?
Yep.
So, or if you manage it properly, then you've got enough in the tank to do superhero kind of stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a way, like in my house rules, I will have XP as the meta currency. As you earn XP, you have to start thinking what to invest them in. And there's lots of different things you can invest them in. So you have to, okay, should I learn this or should I learn that, so to speak? And that is one of the big things, meaning you can misuse them and use them up for all sorts of stuff that will not really, meaning short-term glory or long-term investment, so to speak, kind of thing. So
yeah.
So,
Marvel superheroes had in its game mechanics, it had karma. And you earned karma like you earned experience, right?
Yeah.
The difference is that your karma, you could either spend it to improve yourself or you spent it to improve your roles.
Yeah.
And you got to choose. It's like, well, I want to get better at this or make my one power more stronger. Or when I'm rolling, it's like, oh gosh, I need to spend karma so that I can make this roll.
Exactly. You can.
Which I always loved that. I love that idea of people having to have that choice. Oh no, Anna went out again. Are you back? Say hello. No, now she's still.
Anna froze.
Yeah, I know.
Froze. No, there she is. Okay.
Yep.
It's on Anna's end.
Yep, it's on my end.
Well, we're getting close to 9 anyway, and I've made it. And the next time I get up, it's like I'll be you get the idea. So I know Anna, just hang in there for a bit here.
I'm good. I think I'm back now.
Hopefully, this has been a great discussion. From what I've heard, and I think
it's always awesome.
It was the best one you ever had, Jay.
Yeah, probably. And we had Tim coming in and out too, and we appreciate that. So
it couldn't have been the best when you weren't here.
Oh, that's all right, man. I know my value. It is what it is in this case. What do you guys want to say in closing on the discussion?
I think we've been down a bunch of rabbit holes, but that's the awesome thing of having Will around. There's
and there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. So
I'm like a hunting dog.
Yep.
It's like rabbit.
There's nothing at all wrong with that discussion point, too. Absolutely. That's it. Rabbit holes. I mean, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good way to finish it up.
We could have a couple more shows on this topic and still not go through everything that we would need to talk about.
Yeah.
Just note for me, I love taking something that, I don't know if I've stressed this enough. I love taking it's an obscure published source and turning it into something in the campaign.
Yeah,
I just love that, and that's why I think that's why I really hate the Doom Grinder so much. That they did that to something obscure, a paragraph and a half that was in there, and they made it shit. All right, I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah.
But then there's some good. That's kind of. Yeah.
I think it kind of goes against what is Greyhawk, really. I mean, let's think about it. I mean, granted, we all take and use and make the stuff our own, but think about it. Most of the fan content that's out there this stuff's not canon and never will be canon and never should be canon. It should be something that you find really cool that you then take and you use for your campaign, right? The best thing about Greyhawk was a simple fact that it was like all these thousands of little blurbs on thousands of little threads that you could pull that you could do on your own. You know, that's why the folio was perfect, just the way it was, right?
Yep. And
just the way it was.
Set, and that's what I usually I want to fill in the gaps between these things. You have an adventure here and some other module of some kind there. There's a gap in between there, and that's where these holes I tend to
and the adventures too, because the adventures I don't think any of the adventures until the second edition had dates connected to it. They were all like, it could have been whenever.
Right.
You know, and it wasn't until they start, okay, well, this is when the war happened and this and then this.
From the Ashes was the first time where they actually started all the other adventures were just Greyhawk, so to speak.
And it could have been whenever in the timeline. There was a timeline leading up to 576 with all these different things that are in the events, but then after that, it's like adventures, and they didn't say when the adventures were.
In a way, I like that idea that you don't have a timeline. You just put in plot hooks and ideas and tools, things you can use in your world, and then you put them together like Lego the way you want.
So
in your version.
A rhetorical question to that back. How many people know what time I'm even playing Greyhawk in? I bet you a lot of you don't, because I don't really make a big deal out of it.
No, you say it every once in a blue moon.
I don't, because if I'm going to do a joint thing with someone else and they're in 578 or whatever, I don't want to put that out there. So I keep time amorphous in my game, even though we do have a timeline. So just to note that a good point. So now it's beyond that. I think it's 623, but I don't talk about it, because if I do something with John, or I do something with another channel, or we do a Grand Joust of Altamira or whatever, don't need to tell you what the date is. It's just part of the thing. Yeah, it's 623 if I recall correctly. But I've been playing, for 43 years. It's about 1-to-1 almost. I've had people swear the phrase "twin cataclysms" was in the 83 guide. It is not. Right. Yeah, exactly.
That was Puffett, wasn't it?
It was Gary. No, but the Invoke Devastation and Rain of Colorless Fire is in the original 80 box set, the original 80 glossography. So Invoke Devastation, Rain of Colorless Fire specifically, but not the Twin Cataclysms. That's not there.
Twin Cataclysm.
Yeah, exactly. It's as long as it's been, exactly, and that's kind of the way I try to do it. But just to put that on a little closing point in this discussion, that that way it can be used universally. So
well, that's one of the biggest draws to Greyhawk, in my opinion. Besides the grit, which is great, but I always say high magic in a low magic setting.
Yeah, I love the high magic. I just always played that way. But that's for another time. So let's do some shout outs, because I am
about there.
Yes. So if I stay, like I said, I got like a plug. The chair's being a plug right now. So, well, what's going on, man? Let me go to your Greyhawk project real quick here.
Well, the Patreon Greyhawk project, I'm still putting stuff up there. I put up Grimslade's Ring of Half Truths. That was something that I put up today. Also, we put up. I did the first in the Druids of the Season. So the Circle of the Winter Druid went up today for 5th edition. So that's on there. And I'm in the process of editing the next section of the Lost City of the Seul to be put up. So the town of Last Stop. So it is. I'm in the editing process of it, which is such a joy. So, and then after that's done, I'll be able to put that on there. And I spent a big chunk today getting my virtual Greyhawk adventure together. So
awesome.
And so I've got everything pretty much built to send out some emails and what have you. So, and then of course I've always got a ton of I've got too many projects going on. I need a staff. This is what I need. I need a staff of people that I can put on projects. And then I could just oversee, and then I don't need to work, except on
I want to have a social media manager and an editor, and
I want one. I'd some of those.
Yeah.
In-house editing. Perfect.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Let me start playing the lotto. To solve a lot of my problems. So, but that's about it. So I'm still working on those projects right now, and I got another great adventure idea that, of course, I had to go and waste like 5 hours writing. And that's like, okay, stop doing that. I've got another project. What am I doing this for? I got to finish this one first.
That's the stuff we do all the time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is awesome. And if you're available, maybe back for a little bit next week, because we do go to Virtual GreyCon 4 discussion as well. So I really appreciate you coming in and assisting here, as I have been back and forth. Of
course.
It's going, yes.
That's
so
awesome.
The next round is coming very shortly. So, Anna, what's going on?
Same thing for me. Planning getting the adventure and my seminar stuff done for Virtual Greyhawk. It's only 12 days, and I'm 7 weeks behind. So I'm like scrambling here. Yep. So I'm So I'm today has been Monster Day, and one monster that will be coming for my Virtual Greyhawk Shieldlands adventure is the Huskrat.
Oh,
I like the sound of that.
Yep.
That sounds really good.
Yep. And there will be a couple of other monsters too. Soul Husk included. Yeah.
As it should be.
And it's not the major villain.
Yeah, that's the only thing I have to do is I got to go through and I got to crank out some monsters.
Yep. There's a couple of new monsters. Huskrat is one. And Soul Husk is another one. But I already used Soul Husk in my Shieldlands campaign already. But the Huskrat is a new one.
Yeah, no, Jeff, I'm not doing freaking jumping jacks, and no. No.
I just hope you don't have to sneeze.
Yeah. So expect very little, but there will be. What I will do as a compensate, because I will not post much on before the Virtual Greyhawk on the blog and stuff. There's very little time for articles and stuff. So what I will do is that I will try and squeeze in a couple of extra short, like 1 hour mapping streams when I sit and do maps and stuff.
Awesome.
So yeah. So as a compensation, so to speak.
So Wednesday night.
Yeah, I love you went with the name. Yep.
Yes. But if Gary and the crew get me a finished, because it's so big, Visions 2 by Tuesday evening, so we have time, and that means copies of me, Anna, and Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Then
I can say I already have.
We'll go with the Visions 2. We'll go with the whole Visions topic, and we'll push this one back 2 weeks. All right, fair enough. But I need to have it.
It looks so cool.
All right. Yes. So just note that. I'll change it to Visions, and this is, it is a brilliant idea. Rich, who told us told us to do this? But we're definitely going to do this. If we don't do this Wednesday, we'll do it the Wednesday after. I'm down in Texas, so during the week before Virtual GetCon. So there's none in 2 weeks, but the week after that, we'll come back to this. So just note that. But Visions, we can do a Visions one. All right. So Thursday we finished Mystery at the Mansion. I throw a little wrench into this one. There's a cursed. The mansion's cursed, and there's undead pouring out, but there's one surviving member left, and of the family. It's kind of a neat little thing. What do they do at this point? How do they deal with it? Because a rival faction wants the mansion, the Dark Cloaks, but they can't. They all got slaughtered by all the undead in there. So we'll see what happens on this. You don't get it, Mike? We want to hit when Visions is hot, right? When it comes out, we want to get excitement out for it. So that's why. Because if we're not, not going to do it for another 3 weeks after that. So Undead Your Domain. So that is Thursday. It's only a 3-week stream week, and then next Sunday night, Virtual GrowdCon 4 Prelude Show. So Ron, if you're on, reach out. If you can come on, Jay Stupinski, you guys are welcome. I'll talk to some of the other streamers, see if they can come on and talk about what they're going to do. Maybe some of the other DMs that aren't streaming, so we can get the word out and all. It's and most games are sold out. So, but that'll be next Sunday, because the weekend after that's Virtual GrowdCon 4. Thanks. And lastly, giveaways. Let's call exclamation point drawing. You got 10 seconds. Because I only have about 30 seconds left in me. Before, yes. All right. All righty. So the winner will get this, unless you have it already. I'll give you a Troller Game $10 gift certificate before I explode, Barry. So here we go. Closing this out. Here we go. The winner is Raja18. There you go. Do you have this? I don't think you do. And if you don't, I need full name and address, Raja, and I will send this to you. This is Will's Ravensrook. It's Rook Roost. It's great. Great thing. So let me know. All right. just whisper me full name and address. You may have already done it in previous ones, but just to help me out there, send it to me and whisper here. I'm going to do the $10 gift certificate controller games as well. So the second winner for that is Scottish Jeff. Jeff, I'll send that to you. Okay? Awesome. Let's raid into Darling. Anna, Will, thank you so very much. Tim, thank you for coming on earlier on. I hate to raid and run, but that's happening tonight. So it's going to happen here. So we'll see you all Wednesday night. Hopefully it'll either be a Visions discussion or it will be a Forgotten Realms of Greyhawk discussion, which is pockets where you can add stuff in to Greyhawk where there's nothing. I think it's a great idea. See ya.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Yes. That vision of me running. Yes, I'm walking because running is actually not a good thing to do at this point here. So, yeah, stream manager. Raid. Second, not showing up. There we go. Thank you all. Hope you enjoyed tonight.
Yeah. Thank you, Will. This is awesome.
Good thing is mine's bright and early in the morning. Look at this. Nice size, 78. Thank you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have a good night.
Bye.
What, they busted my stone still in chat?
No.
Not that much.
All right, that's good.
They were all pretty cordial towards you.
Yeah.
Good to hear. All right.